How would a four-pointer change the game? The way offenses are set up, who would take them, and who would be the best at them? Well, there's really only one way to find out. So I added one.
3, 2, 1, Moment und hallo, Tadatusch, herzlich willkommen zu einer neuen Reaction von unserem einer meiner Lieblings-YouTuber, Jimmy Highroller. I added a 4-point line to the NBA and this is what happened. Ja, ich glaube, wir müssen ihn nicht vorstellen. Wir haben schon einige Videos von ihm gesehen. Sehr, sehr statverliebt, dieser Mann.
Wir gucken es vor allen Dingen passend heute zum Weltmeistertitel der deutschen NBA-Jungs.
Richtig. Wir haben nicht nur den WM-Titel geholt, sondern wir haben auch noch Amerika rausgekickt. Johann Senke, ihr könnt gar nichts. Dazu hätten wir eigentlich auch das Video gucken können, was er gemacht hat zum Thema, wenn du in der NBA gewinnst, ob du dann World Champion wirklich bist. Aber das gucken wir ein anderen Mal. So, let's go.
The NBA had a 4-point line. The idea of a 4-point line has
Stephen würde schon ein Faktor sein.
But has remained just that, an idea. But what if these ill-advised bombs that pose no real advantage actually did? How would a 4-pointer change the game? The way offenses are set up, who would take them, and who would be the best at them? Well, there's really only one way to find out. So I added one.
Ich frage mich ja immer, wie er diese Grafiken macht, ne?
Ja, das ist schon echt hohe Kunst. Wirklich gut.
Also, ob er dafür ein Tool hat, wo er das einfach nur reinlädt und er stellt das bildlich da. Ich habe keine Ahnung.
Auch so diese Kamerafahrten innerhalb dieser ganzen Dinge sind schon stark. Also der Junge hat Editing-Skills, da kann ich nur träumen von.
Mhm.
Today's video is sponsored by DraftKings. My friends,
again.
It's been 6 months. No Sunday night matchups. No afternoons of watching your team's quarterback butcher another 3rd and goal. No football. But we're back, baby. Football season is upon us, and DraftKings, an official partner of the NFL, is here to get you in on the action. New customers download the DraftKings app. Use promo
bin ich voll raus.
Ich auch, aber ein bisschen müssen wir noch auf Basketball warten.
Ach, das meinst du, ey.
Obwohl ich immer noch nicht verstanden habe, wie die dieses In-Season-Tournament reinbringen wollen, ne?
Ja,
ich hab's immer noch nicht verstanden, aber ich lasse mich überraschen.
Vor allem, welche Relevanz das dann haben soll.
Ich glaube, es ist einfach nur eine neue Trophy. Oder nee, kriegt der Gewinner nicht einen safen Spot in den Playoffs? Weiß ich nicht mehr.
Dann verliert aber ein anderer einen Spot? Oder?
Ich weiß es nicht. Ich kann es dir nicht sagen. Ich meine, so war das, aber ich bin mir nicht sicher. Kann auch sein, dass ich es einfach nur irgendwie gelesen habe als Vorschlag. Ach Mensch, Werbung ist vorbei.
Ja. Auch sehr Vierer-Style, ja.
Not the 3. What Trae Young did after the 3. Not the most conventional celebration, pointing at the spot on the court where he hit a 30-foot bomb. But he's not pointing to just any random spot. He's pointing at the 4-point line. Now, you or I can't see the 4-point line because it's not on this court. But Trae can see it because it's on his court. Years ago, within the Atlanta Hawks practice facility, the organization implemented a 4-point line, 29 feet out from the basket, a little over 5 feet further than the NBA 3-point line. Trae Young can hit these shots because he practices these shots. And the Hawks aren't the only team that have incorporated a 4-point line into their practices. The Bucks have a 4-point shot in their practice facility, as do the 76ers, the Rockets, and many other teams. Here's Milwaukee's practice court with squares indicating 4-pointers. And here's that exact concept playing out in real time. With the NBA seeing an explosion in 3-pointers over the last decade, I'm not sure if adding a 4-point line would be good for the game. And we may not see a 4-point line in the NBA anytime soon. But we have seen it in other places. The Big 3 League, which features mostly former NBA players and overseas pros, doesn't quite have a 4-point line, but they do have a 4-point spot, called the Fireball 3, a spot 30 feet away from the rim.
Fireball 3, der 4 Punkte gibt.
Okay.
Where shots are worth 4 points. So far this season, the league average.
Ja, das ist die Liga von Ice Cube, der hat die mitgegründet.
Ich habe das mal gelesen, aber halt noch nie in irgendeinem Spot verfolgt. Also kein Plan.
Ich dachte auch eigentlich, dass das irgendwie nur so ein Spaß-Event ist, so was sie so einmal im Jahr machen, aber das ist anscheinend eine richtige, also hat sich gemausert.
Offensichtlich, cool.
Is 15%. Similar to the Big Three League, the WNBA has included a similar 4-point spot for the last 2 All-Star games. Same conditions as the Big Three League, but this spot is 28 feet
nochmal weiter weg, ne?
In the 2023 WNBA All-Star game, out of the total 45 4-pointers attempted, players connected on 12 of them, giving them a 4-point percentage of 26.7%. In the American Basketball Association, any shot past half court is a 4-point shot. So this shot is doable, and it's been incorporated into games to some capacity before. But what if the NBA added a 4-point shot? How far out would it be? How would it change the game we know? And who would be the best 4-point shooters on the planet?
Finde ich gerade wirklich fachlich extrem interessant.
Was glaubst du, wer ist der beste also ich habe das Video schon gesehen. Was glaubst du, wer ist der beste 4-Point-Shooter?
Steph wäre jetzt irgendwie zu offensichtlich. Harden oder so?
Okay, gut.
Wahrscheinlich ist es einer, den du gar nicht auf dem Zettel hast.
Went into detail about the possibility of a 4-point line, how the shot would change the anatomy of the game, and exactly what it would look like. Within their data, researchers found that in order for the shot to make sense, the distance would have to be just right. The number they came up with? 30 feet. Any closer, and the shot would be too easy. Any further, and the shot wouldn't be worth taking. We've talked about this concept before, how efficient any given shot is.
Nochmal, ich bin so schlecht in diesen.
Warte, kann ich dir gleich sagen?
Ich google das uns nebenbei.
Ich weiß, dass 6 feet 3 sind ungefähr 1,93 oder 1,92 oder so.
3, oh, das ist schon was. Das sind 91 Zentimeter, also fast 1 Meter. Ja, okay.
How that leads to the way teams set up their offense, otherwise known as points per shot. In 2023, the expected shot value for every 2-pointer was 1.096 points. The expected shot value for every 3-pointer was 1.083 points, essentially making both shots about equally as efficient on average. Now, since 1996, the NBA has been keeping track of shot data, where shots were taken, and the success rates of those shots. And with this data, we can figure out the expected shot value not only by category, but by distance. For example, if the 4-point line were, let's say, 24 feet out, we can sort through every shot taken from 24 feet, find the league-wide average for that shot distance, and then just divide 4 points by that number.
Datenmengen, ne?
Das ist etwas, womit du in Deutschland nie etwas anfangen kannst. Komm mal mit solchen Datentabellen zum Fußball.
Also da wird auch ein bisschen mehr und so beim Fußball, ne?
Ja, aber
na, auch so, wer hat von wo die meisten Pässe getroffen und so, aber du arbeitest nicht damit, ne? Also es ist kein fester Wert, der irgendwie verwertet wird.
Ich wollte es sagen, das ist ja in Amerika immer ein super fest, also die reden ja fast nur, wenn die über Leute reden, dann immer über die Stats. Stats. Ja. Immer.
League average field goal percentage from 24 feet out is about 35%, which means if the 4-point line was set at 24 feet, the expected shot value would be 1.44 points. Far more than both 3-pointers and 2-pointers. So we gotta move it back
offensiver werden, das Spiel.
Es würde keinen Sinn machen, dann wird der 3-Punkte-Wurf zu einem genauso unnötig wie ein langer 2-Punkte-Wurf. Ein langer 2-Punkte-Wurf macht keinen Sinn, weil du kannst auch noch einen Schritt zurückgehen und den Dreier versuchen.
Ja.
Und den Punkt mehr mitsacken. Und so wäre es dann halt auch, wenn er bei 24 Feet wäre, weil dann könntest du auch den Schritt zurück machen und für den Vierer gehen.
Ja, aber aktuell wird es ja auch so gelebt oder so gespielt, das Spiel. Also.
Points, which is still far too efficient. Keep moving this theoretical line back, and to match the efficiency of 2s and 3s, the 4-point line would have to fall somewhere between 28 and 29 feet away from the basket. But we don't want the league to turn into a 4-point shootout. We need the shot to present enough risk for players to shoot it only on occasion. So if we move the 4-point line back to 30 feet, the expected shot value plummets all the way down to 0.693 points, making it just feasible enough to make sense, but not too much to be exploited, giving us a definitive distance of 30 feet for our new 4-point shot. So if the NBA decided to implement this 30-foot 4-pointer, who would be the best 4-point shooters in the league? Well, the answer may not be what you think. Now, this is what a 30-foot shot looks like. And for the sake of this experiment, from here on out, these shots are now 4-pointers, a distance that is far beyond any valuable shot when they're only worth 3 points. But despite this, players keep taking them. The NBA record for the most theoretical 4-pointers made in a game is...
Der hat sich heute aber auch gefühlt, der Junge.
Ja,
der hat sich richtig gefühlt.
Durfte er. So streckenweise war ich ein bisschen so zum Ende hin, ne? Als der Vorsprung nur noch auf 3 geschrumpft war, nachdem er irgendwie 2 so Dinge macht. Dünnes. Aber das ist okay. Er hat alles verdient.
Das Ding ist halt, ich mag Dennis Schröder nicht. Da hatte ich auch schon eine ewige Diskussion mit Kubi drüber. Hat mich Kubi gefragt, warum. Ich so, weil er arrogant. Also, es mag ja sein, dass es nicht so ist, aber er kommt super arrogant rüber. Für das, was er macht. Er hat Spiele, so wie heute, wo er echt fucking gut ist. Aber dann hat der Spiele, wo der 20 Minuten auf dem Feld ist und ein Balljunge ist.
Du als Laker, ne, leidest dann noch mal mehr drin. Ich könnte es eigentlich objektiver sehen, sehe es aber tatsächlich subjektiv genauso wie du. Der Typ ist so häufig Trash, dass er es sich nicht erlauben sollte, so zu sein, wie er ist, auf eine Arroganzebene bezogen.
Er hatte sein eigenes Team bei den Hawks und hat's verschissen.
Ja, total.
So, und dann ist er nur noch rumgebounced. Bin ich ehrlich, ich bin auch froh, dass wir ihn nicht mehr haben.
Kann ich verstehen.
Ein Bein weniger. Nämlich lieber Austin Reeves, den weißen Michael Jordan.
Is a 4-way tie between D'Angelo Russell, Stephen Curry, Damian Lillard, and Trae Young, who each made 5 4-pointers in a single game. 5 shots made in a single game from at least 30 feet out. But easily the most absurd display of long bombs in NBA history came from Damian Lillard back in 2020 when he attempted 10 4-pointers in a single game. In total,
wollte ich noch nach
Dame
Dings nennen,
15 threes,
nach Harden vorhin,
10 of which were beyond 30 feet out. A feat that would have most players in trade packages the very next day. Ever since the NBA began keeping track of play-by-play data, there have been 51 games where a player has made at least 3 4-pointers. Out of those 51 games, 36 of them came from either Stephen Curry, Damian Lillard, or Trae Young. Because even in a league with the best shooters on the planet, these 3 are among the handful of players that should even be shooting these shots in the first place. But how much would a 4-point line really change the game? Well, it would be impossible to know the ripple effect of such a monumental change. But after painstakingly tracking the shot data and results of each and every game last season, I found that there were only 2 games out of the total 1,314 games played where a 4-point line would have altered the results of the game. That's instances where if the shots made beyond 30 feet were counted as 4-pointers instead of 3-pointers, it would have swung the point total enough to turn the loss into a win and vice versa.
Ja, aber weil du ja auch nicht drauf spielst, so, ne?
Ja,
du hast ja nichts davon. Das ist
aber du kannst es halt auch nicht, ne? Du kannst ja nicht simulieren. Du weißt ja nicht, wie die Leute darauf halt reagieren und wie es dann halt ausgeht, wenn einer einen 4-Punkte-Wurf hittet. Ne? Das ist halt.
Also, wenn du so ein Novum reinbringst, dann ist schon absehbar, dass das Training sich dann vielleicht noch mehr in die Richtung ändert, obwohl wir jetzt gelernt haben, dass die schon so trainieren, als hätten sie eine 4er und dann die Strategien auch eher mal dahin gehen könnten. Da, wo du People hast, die halt gut shooten können. So.
Ja. In an entire season. In fact, since 1996, there have been 20 instances where the outcome of a game would have been altered as a direct result of a 4-pointer. Games where a 3-pointer was made to tie the game and send it into overtime. But if the shot was a 4-pointer, it would have outright won the game. So with everything else remaining the same, it's clear that giving an extra point for these bombs wouldn't actually change a whole lot. At least not for those who don't take them. But what about the players who do? Last season alone, across the NBA, there were 2,192 shots taken from at least 30 feet out, which sounds like a lot, but it only made up about 2.6% of all shots taken beyond the 3-point line.
Das ist, was ich meine. Wenn du die Zahl erhöhst und mal 5 machst, dann hast du auf einmal eine ganz andere Gewichtung, was solche Sachen angeht.
Last season. And of all these now 4-pointers, the league-wide average field goal percentage was just 17.3%. This is a difficult shot. Luka Doncic shot 34 shots from at least 30 feet out last season. He made just 5 of them. Anthony Edwards shot 13, and he made just 1, which would give him a 4-point field goal percentage of 7%. But not all players are abysmal from this distance. Last season, Jordan Poole shot 72
Kennst du den noch?
Der Junge ist.
four-pointers and knocked down 32% of them, which makes him as deadly from 4-point range as John Morant, De'Aaron Fox, and DeMar DeRozan are from 3-point range. And if that doesn't rattle your brain, Darius Garland attempted 27 four-pointers last season and knocked down 11 of them, giving him an absurd 4-point shooting percentage of 41%, which is exactly the same as his 3-point percentage. But these numbers are from just last season. If we take a look at tracking data dating back to 1996, here's a chart of the players who shot the most four-pointers throughout the last 27 seasons. And very quickly, you can see just how uncommon shots from this 4-point distance are. Devin Booker is 42nd all-time in shots attempted from at least 30 feet, and he's only taken 109 in his entire career. Carmelo Anthony was a brick from this range. There's Darius Garland. He's a wizard from 30 feet out. Keep going up the chart, and one thing that jumps out is that being a good 3-point shooter doesn't necessarily make a player a good 4-point shooter. Ray Allen shot 157 four-pointers throughout his career and only hit 5.7% of them, whereas Luka Doncic, a notoriously underwhelming 3-point shooter, shoots four-pointers well above league average. And as we approach the top of this list, the total shot attempts from this range begin to increase almost exponentially. LeBron has attempted 304 four-pointers in his 20-year career. Trae Young has attempted 536 in just 5 seasons. But keep going.
Das ist halt, er trainiert es halt auch.
Ja, das ist sein Spiel.
Ja.
Und das ist ja das, was ich vorhin meinte, ne? Oder?
Topping the all-time 4-point leaderboard. Damian Lillard and Stephen Curry have virtually shot the same amount of four-pointers throughout their careers, both of them on relatively excellent field goal percentage. But this is just the total amount of four-pointers players have attempted throughout their careers. What might be more revealing is the rate at which players shoot these long balls. And if we take a look at four-pointers attempted per season, there's one player throughout NBA history who is miles above everyone else. It isn't Steph or Dame. It isn't a historically great scorer like James Harden or Kobe Bryant. It isn't a prolific sharpshooter like Reggie Miller or Klay Thompson. If the 4-point line existed, the player who would undeniably be the greatest 4-point shooter of all time is Trae Young, attempting over 100 four-pointers per season throughout his career.
Der Mann hat das grünste Licht der Welt.
Player within Trae Young's galaxy.
Genau wie Steph Curry.
And the further we dive into the numbers, the more obvious this becomes. With a career shooting percentage of 33% on shots at least 30 feet out, if the 4-point line existed, Trae Young would have an expected shot value of 1.33 points off of four-pointers, making it the single most valuable shot in basketball outside of uncontested layups. For perspective, in a league with a 4-point line, the best big men in the NBA have a lower points per shot value on contested layups than Trae Young does from 30 feet out, which would make a 30
Ich meine, bei Jokic sind es nur 0,03, aber es ist trotzdem immer noch krass.
Yeah. Ist halt auch Jokic.
By Trae Young, more efficient than a defended layup from the reigning MVP. Do you understand how ridiculous that is? And this gap in value only gets larger as we go further from the basket. Kevin Durant is a mid-range juggernaut. His points per shot on mid-range jumpers is 1.1 points. Back up to the 3-point line, and if you take the most accurate volume 3-point shooter in the league, Tyrese Maxey, his 3-pointers are still less valuable than Trae Young's 30-foot 4-pointers. Stephen Curry is the undisputed king of the 3-ball. He's single-handedly revolutionized the game with his range. And yet, somehow, Trae Young has already made more career 4-pointers, or shots at least 30 feet out, than Stephen Curry has. It's probably a good thing that this shot doesn't exist in the NBA. But if it did, Trae Young would be the best to ever do it. Here is a visual of each sector on the floor by distance. And here are some of the most prolific scorers from each of those sectors, along with their career points per shot from that distance. From short range, you've got dominant and efficient bigs. players who controlled the paint. But these are some of the most highly contested shots in basketball. So take a step back to the mid-range and you'll see, for the most part, efficiency actually remains consistent with players like Kawhi, Dirk, and CP3. Keep going back and you'll find the long two-point snipers. Despite this being the least efficient shot in basketball, players like Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving have kept this shot alive and well. Take it one step further, and that extra point from the three-point line makes three-pointers in the right hands one of the most lethal shots in the game, with Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and Ray Allen all gaining at least 1.2 points per shot from this distance. Since 1996, these are the shots you want, who you want taking them, and how much they're worth. And then there's Trae Young, who, in a league where a 30-foot four-pointer existed, would possess the most valuable shot in basketball, despite taking it from the logo.
Krass.
Wobei ich aber auch sagen muss, ich glaube, wenn sie sowas reinbringen würden, würde Steph nicht lange brauchen.
Das ist halt das, ne? Du musst die dann hinzüchten oder hinbringen. Ja. Steph ist vielleicht sogar schon 2-3 Tage zu alt, so blöd sich das anhört, aber die kommende Generation würde dann halt eher dahin gehen. Und dann hast du vielleicht auch einen, der relativ zügig Trae Young überholt. So.
Ja, das ist eher der Grund, warum Trae Young so spielt, wie er spielt, weil er halt Steph gesehen hat und gesagt hat, okay, das kann ich auch. Und er
3 Meter weiter hinten.
Er 14 Meter weg vom Korb gefühlt. Alles klar. Ich hoffe, es hat euch gefallen. Haut rein. Bis zum nächsten Mal. Lasst es euch gut gehen. Macht's gut. Macht's besser. Bis dann. Ciao, ciao.